Ghusl, the Islamic ritual of major purification, by Jihad Zainith. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In Islam, purification is not merely physical cleanliness but a legal and spiritual condition that determines whether certain acts of worship are valid. One of the most important forms of purification is ghusl. Ghusl is the ritual full-body washing required to remove major ritual impurity and restore a person to a state of ritual purity so that prayer, recitation of the Quran, and other acts of worship become permissible. The word ghusl in Arabic means to wash, but in Islamic law it refers specifically to a prescribed method of washing the entire body with the intention of removing a state of major impurity known as hadath akbar. This state occurs after specific events such as sexual intercourse, ejaculation, menstruation, or post-childbirth bleeding. Without performing ghusl after these events, a person remains ritually impure and is not permitted to perform certain acts of worship. There are several types of ghusl, each connected to a particular cause. Ghusl janaba is required after sexual intercourse or ejaculation, whether awake or during a wet dream, and applies to both men and women. Ghusl haid is performed by a woman after her menstrual bleeding has completely ended, after which she may resume prayer and fasting. Ghusl nifas is performed after post-childbirth bleeding ends and serves the same purpose. Ghusl mayyit is the washing of a deceased Muslim before burial and is a communal obligation upon the community. Istihada, which is irregular non-menstrual bleeding, does not normally require ghusl and is treated as a minor impurity requiring renewed ablution unless another cause of major impurity exists. The purpose of ghusl is threefold. It removes the legal state of major impurity, allowing acts of worship to resume. It maintains physical and spiritual cleanliness, which Islam places great emphasis on. It also disciplines the believer to approach worship with intention, preparation, and awareness. The central element of ghusl is intention, known as niyyah. Intention is the conscious decision in the heart to perform ghusl for the sake of Allah and to remove a specific state of impurity. It does not need to be spoken aloud. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Actions are only by intentions, and every person will have only what they intended." This establishes that purification is not only a physical act, but a spiritual one rooted in sincerity. The method of performing ghusl was taught by the Prophet and preserved through authentic narrations. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, described his ghusl by saying that he would wash his hands, then wash his private parts, then perform ablution as for prayer, then pour water over his head, and then over his entire body. This demonstrates that ghusl follows a deliberate and ordered pattern rooted in prophetic practice. The recommended steps of ghusl are as follows. First, one makes the intention in the heart. Second, the hands are washed. Third, the private parts are washed to remove physical impurity. Fourth, one performs ablution as for prayer, though the feet may be delayed until the end. Fifth, water is poured over the head, ensuring that the scalp and roots of the hair are wet. Sixth, water is poured over the entire body, starting with the right side and then the left, ensuring that no area of skin remains dry. If water reaches the entire body with intention, the ghusl is valid even if the exact order is not followed, though following the prophetic method is preferred. Ghusl is required before prayer when one is in a state of major impurity. It is also required before touching the physical copy of the Quran if one is in that state. Beginning a fast while in a state of janaba does not invalidate the fast, but ghusl must be performed before prayer. During menstruation and post-childbirth bleeding, ghusl does not restore ritual purity until the bleeding has completely ended. The Prophet instructed that when menstruation ends, a woman should wash and then resume prayer. Through ghusl, Islam teaches that purification is a conscious transition into a sacred state. It prepares the body, disciplines the self, and refines the heart for worship. Ghusl is therefore not only a cleansing of the skin, but a renewal of readiness to stand before Allah with humility, intention, and reverence.